New polls show New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's approval ratings dropped significantly after several accusations of misconduct surfaced. The governor is accused of hiding data on nursing home deaths during the COVID pandemic. Cuomo is also accused of harassing his former top aide, Lindsey Boylan. The New York state leader was praised early on for his COVID response, but with re-elections just around the corner, Governor Cuomo's political future seems now less clear. Joining me now is New York Magazine contributor David Freedlander. David, good to have you. So let's talk about Assemblyman Ron Kim's interview with CNN. It seemed in many ways to be the tipping point for Governor Cuomo. What did Kim's interview reveal, and how did Cuomo hurt himself with his response?
Yeah, it was kind of shocking. I mean, Kim was a previously unknown almost state assemblyman who had given an interview to CNN in which he said that Cuomo had called him, berating him, threatening to destroy his career, yelling at him for 10 minutes as Kim was trying to give his kids a bath on a Friday evening or something. And what was interesting about it was no one really knew who Kim was. Cuomo had, before the interview was released with CNN, Cuomo had given a press conference where he sort of just spent 10 minutes tearing Kim down and sort of destroying him and saying that he was not credible and not someone to be listened to, and he was corrupt. And then no one really could understand why Cuomo was picking a battle with this state lawmaker. The press conference ends, and all of a sudden there's this big CNN story about Kim and his conversation with Cuomo.
Well, then Cuomo's also been battered by sexual harassment allegations, which came just days later. There are also other claims that the governor has a hostile or uncomfortable work environment. Do you expect that Cuomo will be able to move past these claims in the Me Too era? How significant are these allegations?
Well, I think that what happened was when Kim sort of I don't want to say leaked the contents of the phone call, because he didn't actually record the phone call. He was merely describing what Cuomo had said to him. It sort of opened up the floodgates. And then you had all of these other folks coming out, people writing op-eds in the Daily News and the New York Post talking about they had been screamed at by Cuomo or his staff or belittled or demeaned. And then there was this other allegation that came in after that of a former staffer who said that Cuomo tried to forcibly kiss her, that he made inappropriate comments to her. It's a little bit of a sort of it's a thorny situation in a way, because she's the woman who made the allegation, who is currently running for office here in New York as Manhattan Borough president. She's not really answering questions about it. She's not talking to the press about it. She wrote on Medium about these allegations, and it's really hard to know kind of almost what to do with them in a way. I mean, I think that if there were more of these coming forward, it could get very problematic for the governor.
As you say, the knives really seem to be out for Governor Cuomo right now in New York. Who are his remaining allies? Who's sticking by him? And since he's seeking a fourth term in office, how are these allegations and this drop in his public approval ratings, which were sky high during the pandemic, how does that all play into this?
Well, I mean, I think he's a very sort of formidable political opponent. He remains popular in communities of color throughout New York City. He remains popular in some of the sort of New York City suburbs, where I think voters sort of see him as kind of keeping a lid on some of the more liberal instincts of New York City lawmakers. So he's still popular in large pockets of the state, of the Democratic Party. The lawmakers who represent those areas still like him. And, of course, there are political establishment and Wall Street elites really like him a whole bunch, too. But he has taken a hit, in the last couple of weeks. I mean, if you recall, back in the summer, there was sort of even chatter that somehow he would replace Joe Biden as a Democratic nominee. Obviously, we're sort of a long way away from that.
Yeah, and it was incredible how much his popularity was through the roof during the pandemic, and now everything's been turned on its head. In fact, several Cuomo opponents are calling on State Attorney General Tish James to assign a special prosecutor to look into the sexual harassment allegations and the nursing home numbers. How likely is that to actually take place, and how much damage could potential investigations do to Cuomo as he tries to move beyond this?
You know, it's complicated. I mean, I tend to think that we sort of have the sort of scandal of the nursing homes and some of his the way he's handled the coronavirus response, and then there's for lack of a better word, a kind of cover up. I think there's not much there in the actual scandal. I mean, I think when people really look at it, they will see somebody who is facing a very difficult situation, a pandemic which none of us had dealt with before, and doing the best they could under the information that we had. And then there's a second thing of them trying to sort of massage the numbers or not releasing the numbers. Now, Cuomo he's really interested in control. He wants to be in charge of everything all the time. I mean, he wants to be both the governor and the attorney general, and he wants to be the legislature and whatever else government functions exist up in Albany. And so I think he would not like to see anything come of any of this to the extent he can help it.
David, I realize that maybe our viewers might not have been following New York politics as closely as you and I have. Can you remind specifically on the nursing home numbers on this point, what the allegations are against the governor and how he has responded?
Right. So what happened was they put together a directive, a memo that said that people that were living in nursing homes, contacted COVID, went to the hospital, that once they had recovered from COVID, they were to go back to the nursing home. And the allegation is that this then led to COVID just ripping through the nursing homes. I think that, that's probably not what happened. I think the COVID was probably brought in by the workers, by others who were going in and out of those facilities. I mean, because keep in mind, these are senior citizens who had contacted the disease, sent to the hospital, recovered, and the hospitals needed that bed space in case so we thought we were going to get just a flood of people who were needing hospital beds, and so they needed to free up that space. What then ended up happening was that they were not forthcoming about the number of people who had died in nursing homes. They were counting people who died in hospitals as hospital deaths rather than as nursing home deaths until the attorney general issued a report, and I think it sort of doubled the number of nursing home deaths.
David, in many ways, it seems like an unforced error on the governor's part and the part of his team. But given now all of these allegations, all these people who are clamoring for Cuomo's head, what is his next move? How can he repair his relationship with the state and with Democrats? Or is his best move just to try and wait it out?
Well, it's interesting because it seems as if what they've been trying to do is kind of get things back on track every day for the last 2 weeks. I mean, the governor would have these press conferences where he'd talk about, the numbers and the vaccines and how the disease is going down and, New York is reopening again and this kind of thing. And then he would almost you could see him just getting worked up about something that had happened, something someone had said to him, and he would attack them in the press conference. So I think they very much want everybody to be focused on what's happening now in New York State, our recovery from this horrible crisis, and then, opening back up again in the spring and summer. And I think, him and people around him really believe that his popularity will rebound once we're sort of in that context.
All right. David Freedlander, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.